I'm considering meeting, but we'll talk about that on shop number 4. For now, I'm about to start renovating my third shop. Let me bring you inside, show you around, and tell you about my plans. First off, the explanation behind the third shop is I've recently bought my parents a house.
Come here.
All right, y'all smile. And on it is this wonderful 1,500 square foot shop. It is in great condition, but the inside does have a lot of things in it that I won't be needing. And there are some things like the electrical that I would feel better about ripping out and redoing from scratch. So over the next few videos, I'm gonna show you everything I do to turn this metal building into a usable workspace. And of course we start with demo. In this space, there is this great loft and also a separate room that the previous owner used as a carving area. Both are in great shape, but I would rather tear them down and have a giant open floor plan instead. Watch out below! With prices of lumber being so crazy right now, I'm demoing everything with the intention of reusing anything I can. Everything in here is put together with nails, so it really just takes bashing it in the correct direction to get things apart. For the loft decking, I first tried prying it up, but they used ring-shaped nails. So next I tried cutting, but that was very time consuming. So next I went to the bottom side of the loft and just kind of bashed upwards. It worked. To get the rafters off, I used a 3-pound maul to hit upwards until the toenailed nails popped out. I know most people reach for a sledge when demoing, and don't get me wrong, it is a great tool. But I would also recommend picking up a 3-pounder as there are plenty of jobs on demo day that it's better suited for. I had 3 piles going on demo day. One for trash, one for lumber that I could cut up and burn, and another that I could pull nails and reuse. Next I moved to the small room, which is framed up with a ceiling. I started on the inside with the drywall. And most of the time on TV, you see people just go crazy with bashing this stuff up into small pieces, but I don't want to deal with the mess. So a tip is if you work at tearing along a stud first, you can get a good grip to pry off large sections of drywall at a time. So you pick what's most appealing to you. Smash it and have some fun, or have an easy cleanup. Or you can start off sensible and then pretend to be a ninja. When removing studs from a framed-in wall, you can take a sledge and hit the base. This is a great example on when I use 2 tools. A sledge at the base because it's easy for me to swing low, but then when I have to swing high, since it's harder for my build, I switch to a 3-pound maul and use 2 hands. If you're demoing and run into insulation, this stuff is horrible for birds as they want to take it and build a nest with it, but the fibers are bad for them. So all the insulation goes into the bag and that way it can be tied shut. Now, when it came time to the big wall, I tried a new method. So what I did here is I removed this beam and I loosened up the top plate on there, because instead of trying to bash every single one of these studs, I'm just going to try to pull it over and see if it'll come. This will save me from busting the ends of each stud at the base, giving me a full stud to reuse. I truly was surprised at how well that worked. I drug that entire thing out to the reuse pile and started cleaning up the mess by giving the entire space a nice good sweeping. Now I'll get to the part that most of you are probably here for, details on the shop. It is a 30 by 40 space, and what I want to do is turn it into an order fulfillment center. What's happening is people are coming to the woodshed, which is my woodworking manufacturing shop, and their first question is always, can you mass produce this? Yes. Well, then the second question is always, can you fulfill orders directly to our customers? I've been saying no, but I want to start saying yes. But in order to do that, I'm going to need to turn this space into something I can use for it. Let me use 3D Experience SolidWorks for Makers to show you my plan. Since my intentions are to store a large variety of product inventory, I want as much racking as I can squeeze in. I'm imagining at least the entire wall space to be lined to start. Then in the future, I can even add a few rows over here in the meaty part of the floor plan. I want to keep the pathway before the bay doors clear so that a vehicle with a trailer can pull straight through and somebody inside can offload or load pallets. I will need an office sort of place, but I got rid of the room because I don't see any reason for it to be enclosed. Instead, I'll frame up one bay to have a wood wall so that I can build a few cabinets and drawers and have a desk with a computer and printer. Then, since the ceilings are so high, let's go ahead and build a loft to give a place for storing materials such as boxes, bubble wrap, tape, and other shipping supplies. I chose to place the loft on this side of the building because the bay door here is centered, but this one is off-centered, making this corner the most narrow. Then the last thing is a bathroom for this corner. I'm still working on the plan for tying in the plumbing to the septic on this property, but for now, I'm only gonna roughen the plumbing, then complete the room for the bathroom later. And this corner will be dedicated to that. If you're wondering about the program I'm using, it's called 3D Experience SolidWorks for makers, and it's been such an asset when planning the shop. To not only digitally see the entire floor plan, but then to also plan out each and every aspect of it has been invaluable. 3D Experience SolidWorks for Maker is typically $99 a year, which is incredibly reasonable, but for my audience, you can get 20% off by using the link in the description. 3D modeling is one of my best tools in my tool bag, so I highly encourage you to give it a try. Oh, I forgot to talk about wiring. I took a good look at the existing wiring, and while it would have been great to leave it all, hardly any of it was done to code, so I decided to pull everything out and start fresh. Again, with prices being so high right now, I cut things with repurposing the Romex in mind. Meaning, I cut it as close to the boxes as I could get, then took my time to unravel the links so that I could spool them back up and set them aside for wiring. Of course, before cutting any lines, I had to shut off power to the entire building, which means I needed to figure out how to get temporary power until I could rewire. Bring in the portable charging station. It's made by a company called Ecoflow, and I have decent lighting because of the bay doors, but if I didn't, then I could use Ecoflow to run lights. I certainly used it to recharge all the batteries for my tools and even run the tools that are corded. So this thing is great for a job site, but get this, it has enough capacity to run a fridge or even a dryer. So yes, I'm using it for a job site, but it can also be used for home emergencies. They also make portable charging stations of all sizes. So if you're into outdoor activities such as camping, then check out the Riverline and you can thank me later. Almost all of their units charge from 0 to 80% in 1 hour. That means when I take a lunch break, it can get plugged in somewhere, and by the time I'm done, it'll be ready to get back to work with me. Okay, and then the last thing I wanted to accomplish this week is roughing in that plumbing. Typically, plumbing is put in when the slab is being poured. So what do you do if you have a solid slab and you need to put some PVC pipe into it? I mean, that sounds like a great excuse to buy a concrete saw. Guys, I am using a battery-operated concrete saw. I absolutely love this world we're living in. I literally need to take a rectangle of concrete out. This all needs a water source to keep the blade cool as it's cutting. There's a quick connect feature for any standard hose. Then a shutoff valve that can be open and closed as you're working. I started the saw and waited until the blade was spinning to top speed to slowly start sinking it into the ground. Then I followed my line. And I was shocked at how easy it was and surprised at how long a battery lasted. So my plan is to use the saw to cut the perimeter, then use a sledge to break up the remaining internals. It didn't go that easy, but it sounded like a good plan. Next up, the sledge. Hey, do you remember that one time you lent a tool to a friend and they returned it broken? This is the time to let it out, folks. Even grudging out my worst memories, this concrete was giving me hell. I ended up borrowing a demo hammer, which is the ideal combo. A saw to cut the perimeter so that you don't bust up the surrounding concrete that you don't want to remove, and then a demo hammer to bust up the internal concrete. The slab turned out to be 6 inches, but the goal is to get enough room for the toilet flange to be flush with the concrete while the rest went down and out the building. So the next step is to concrete in the plumbing. That's right, folks, you do all that work just to put concrete right back in it. Alright, and I think that's a great stopping point for video 1. I have a spiffy clean, cleared out shop that's ready for the next step, which is wiring. In the next video, I'm gonna be adding ceiling and wall outlets, and I will show you how I do it. I will see you then. Oh. 110 to the left of me, USB's on the right. Here I am, I got power for you. Yes, I got power for you.